I knew this was going to be it for me. Like, I knew this was going to be my career. I never thought that I'd end up doing anything else. So, once you get started, it's like there's no turning back. I never once thought about the what ifs or doubted the business. And worked my way through some tough times. Not every day was easy, but I guess maybe if people just kind of had that mindset of this is it, this is my career now, and there's no turning back, maybe they would understand that the good days are going to make up for those days that could be a little bit tough out there.
All right, so another episode of the Double Play Podcast, Take 2. Got some tech issues out of the way, and we're back with you today. It is the 8th episode, if I didn't say that already, which appears on life insurance and everything in between on at least a weekly basis, if not twice this week, thanks to the editing skills of Adam over there. It's backwards on camera, but over there, thankfully working all night to get this week's episode up. So Adam, we're back, and I want to start off backwards today. We'll get to the industry crap second. I want to talk sports first. It's the playoffs. Wild card weekend is over. The Ravens lost. The Vikings lost, tragically speaking. But the Eagles play their first playoff game this weekend. What are you expecting?
Well, I'm hoping we beat the crap out of the Giants. Honestly. I mean, I guess we just got to wait and see. They stayed, like I said, they ended the season a little injured. Jalen Hurts, he was out. Well, I went to the Bears-Eagles game. He got hurt in that game, and then he missed the next two games. And then each game that he missed, they lost. He played their final game against the Giants, and they barely beat like the Giants backups. Mm-hmm. So, but when they were healthy and they played the Giants, they whooped up on them. So. And that was in New York when they beat them pretty big. So we'll see what happens. Anything can happen in the playoffs. The NFC North, the Vikings. They lost, but that division is weak. Mm-hmm. I think the Vikings are overrated. The Eagles beat the Vikings early in the year. The Vikings running back, he couldn't do anything against the Eagles. So. Eagles, they got a good team. They got a great offensive line. That makes such a huge difference, too, in football. You have a good line, that's going to open up your running. Mm-hmm. That's why when you have a running quarterback, too, it's going to help. So, yeah, I got my Kelsey jersey on.
There you go. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps. Now, in baseball, the season is all series. In baseball, the playoffs are still even series. In football, it's one game during the season, one game during the playoffs. Do they play with any kind of a different mentality, even though it's just one game like they're always used to playing?
Well, what do you mean?
Obviously, if you lose, you're done. You go home. But in baseball, I feel like there's a different level of urgency, different level of strategy. Like, if your starter doesn't go very well in the beginning of a baseball game, in the playoffs, they just pull them. In the season, if your starter's not doing very well, they let him kind of get his feet under him. 3 innings, 4 innings. Okay, that didn't work. Let's pull him after 5. I feel like baseball playoff strategy is different than baseball in season. Do you find that to be the case in football?
I don't think so. I think in football, you just got to play the game. Mm-hmm. They're not going to pull their quarterback just because he's having a bad game, their starter. Usually, unless he's just, well, who knows? The Jaguars this past Saturday, they were losing 27-0 at the halftime. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 interceptions, but they turned the game around. They turned the game around. They ended up winning that game. So they wouldn't have won that game had they pulled the quarterback. There's no way. There's no way their backup could have came in and did what he did. So, football is just a little bit different. Football is 2 halves too. Mm-hmm. that game, that the Jaguars, they came out weak. The Chargers were just putting up touchdown after touchdown with all these turnovers. But then they adjusted, they figured things out, and they came out the second half strong, and they ended up winning that game. Kind of hard to believe, but. Yeah, I think a little bit different than baseball. It's just totally different game. Baseball, there is a lot more one-on-one. strategy, I guess you could say. A lot of different matchups with pitcher versus batter and lefty versus righty, all that stuff. So
Makes sense.
A little bit different, but yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it's do or die.
I
It's
agree.
do or die. It's either you win or you go home. And in baseball, I mean, there's a 5-game series in the playoffs, a 7-game series. If you lose a game, well, you can still come back the next day.
Yeah.
And, get right back into the series. Where football, you lose that, your season's over.
Yeah, there's 3 games in the baseball wild card now. Used to be 1, 5 in the division, and 7 in the championship rounds. The strategy gets pretty in depth when you're going to see the same team upwards of 4, 5, 6, 7 games. You're going to see the same pitcher, the same relievers. Can you use them twice in the same series? Can you not? There's a lot of differences with that. But one question I want to have as we transition soon into the business side of what we talk about is teams that are behind in the playoffs, football teams, baseball teams, they don't give up early. They still play the entire game. They still play till completion. Maybe they still don't win, but they don't give up early. Why do you think agents in the industry sometimes give up early, maybe even extremely early, in their chances at success in the business?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't really understand. I think maybe it's just the mentality of some people, where if something doesn't work right away, they move on. A lot of times I feel like maybe people have doubts even before they get started. They think too much about that stuff. And we talk a lot about fear of failure, and they focus way too much on those sort of things. I mean, I've taken people out where we have a few good days out in the field. They're all excited and they're ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first day out, if they have a tough day, I've had people quit. First day out after having a few very successful days with me out in the field, writing a bunch of business, getting a bunch of referrals, seeing the kind of opportunity there is and the kind of money that they can make. And it's like, to me, it's just, that's a weak kind of person. So to me, if they want to quit that early in, well, they're probably going to end up saving me a lot of time and money too.
Yeah. How long, and that was a long time ago, how long did it take before you felt like you really had competency and knew what you were doing when you started in the industry?
Honestly, I don't know. I've always felt pretty comfortable talking to people. I never really felt like I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. My dad, again, in the business, I kind of grew up around it. Maybe I just heard him a lot talking to people on the phone, things like that. I don't know. It's always been pretty natural to me. When I first started, I was 21 years old. And back then, I mean, I wore a shirt and tie when I was door knocking. I just felt like, because I looked so young, that maybe people would take me a little bit more seriously. Like if I wore a shirt and tie. I don't know if it made a difference or not. I really don't. But to me, it was maybe just more of a comfort thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's always been just kind of second nature. I've never really felt nervous. I've never, again, too, I mean, a lot of trial and error. Mm-hmm. And just, I guess, no one going in, like, I knew this was going to be it for me. Like, I knew this was going to be my career. I never thought that I'd end up doing anything else. So, once you get started, it's like there's no turning back. I never once thought about the what ifs or doubted the business. And I, worked my way through some tough times. Not every day was easy, but I guess maybe if people just kind of had that mindset of, this is it, this is my career now, and there's no turning back, maybe they would understand that the good days are going to make up for those days that could be a little bit tough out there.
Yeah. On the same token, I want to ask a different question, which is kind of loaded, but I think it's worth discussing. Maybe it's not always the people that quit right away, but it's the people that expect, if it didn't work with Adam, maybe it'll work with Chris. If it didn't work with Chris, maybe it'll work with Bob. If it didn't work with Bob, maybe it'll work with Steve. And while it's appropriate to make changes in your business over the course of time, I can't say that because I'd be hypocritical. I've made changes and so have you. Talk to me about the people that make changes really quickly, weeks into the game, months into the game. Like they're not giving themselves a chance to build a relationship within the group or the person that they're working with, and they're constantly hopping from one system or one leader to the next.
Well, I think in situations like that, a lot of times it could be an ego issue. It could be people that just nothing's ever their fault. It's always everybody else. The reason that they're failing, it's not because of them. It's because everywhere they go, they're getting screwed by somebody.
Mhm.
So uh, I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I think it's an ego thing. I think that I'm a pretty loyal person. I mean,
Mhm.
I was with one company 11 and a half years, another company for 7.5.
Yeah.
So right there, we're talking about 19 years in the business. My first year in the business, I was selling health insurance, Medicare supplements, and then I got into final expense. Uh, so I think same thing, just kind of that mentality of this is where I'm at and this is how it's going to be, and we're just going to kind of go from here.
Yeah.
You can't play the blame game. You can't always blame everybody else for your mistakes or your failures. And I mean, I don't think it looks real good if you have a LinkedIn account and you have 10 different jobs listed. I worked from this company for 2 years, and then this one for 2 years, and this one for 6 months, and then this one, and then I went and sold energy for a little while, and then I went back in the final expense.
Solar.
Like,
Did solar for a while.
yeah, it just that, I guess you call that like a jumper.
Yeah.
And I mean, who wants to follow a jumper? Who's going to believe in somebody that can't stick with something?
You were saying that it's a lot, oftentimes a you problem. This business is also a you versus you kind of business. And ironically, last episode we talked about no one is going to do it for you. It all kind of follows that same rabbit hole of understanding that I could only teach you so much, you could only teach him so much, she could only teach her so much. In the end, you got to do the rest. And I think some people can be successful no matter what system they're in. You've worked captive, you've worked independent. You're going to figure it out no matter where you are. And I think that's kind of the entrepreneurial person rising to the cream of the crop. And some people, no matter where they go, are never going to work. And that isn't anybody else's fault, but maybe it's just not a good fit. And we both agree, too, that sometimes people just aren't a good fit for the entrepreneurial, independent business owner industry, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's people that just can't handle that. They can't handle the independence. They always need somebody telling them this is what you need to be doing, this is where you need to be, and this is what time you need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you're not disciplined in this business, you're not going to be around very long. You got to be able to set your schedule. You got to kind of know what you're doing every day. But you're right when it comes to different opportunities out there. I think a good agent is going to succeed anywhere that they go.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's opportunities that pay lower commissions and this and that, and maybe that could be reasons why they moved on to do other things. But
Mm-hmm.
there's even organizations where maybe the commissions are lower. I mean, I know a guy that he does over $1 million a month in premium on a fairly low contract for the position he's in. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this guy's got to be making over $100,000 a month. So, I mean, I think that it doesn't matter. I mean, you could get in any system that you want and be successful if you really put your mind to it. And commission levels aren't always the most important thing.
Yeah. So our main business topic we want to talk about today kind of transitions well into that as well, is it's follow up in your business. The longer you're in the business, the more clients you're going to have to follow up with, to see again, to service again, to conserve again. I think follow up in the business is a lost art to a lot of people. And one of the other reasons a lot of people make a lot of money and build a lot of renewal income. What did you want to talk about first before we get into the weeds on follow up?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, keeping up with your business is very important. I think that it's great to go out and write business, and we're always looking to make that commission. But if you don't keep up with your business, like I said last week, you're going to have to write 2 applications for each one that falls off if you want to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a lot to have to keep up with. And that's another thing that could take an agent who's successful and then he's in and out of the business because he's not all of a sudden not making the kind of money he was making when he first started. Because maybe he was out there writing a bunch of business. Now, if some of it's fallen off, I think that there's just different things you can do. Even maybe the way that some people present could be a reason why their business falls off. I mean, I've heard people out there. I had a guy comment on one of my posts. I think it was a YouTube short I did talking about what was it? The objection of I got to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy's like, well, you just need to tell the client that there's nothing to think about. You just need to see if you can get them approved. And it's like, why would you do that? You're filling out an application. And to me, I don't even feel like that should be legal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it is legal. I mean, the client is signing something they don't even realize that they're committing to for the companies to underwrite these policies. And I've heard other guys, to me, it's just a weak sales approach, a weak way to close if they can't get anywhere with the person. Well, let's just get it done. And if you decide you don't want it, you got 30 days to cancel it. What do you think that person's going to think about when they receive that policy in the mail? The first thing on their mind is going to be like, oh yeah, that's that policy. That guy said when I get it, I can cancel it if I want to.
Oh, that's
and then the business is going to fall off the books. What's that?
Yeah. Oh, that's that thing I didn't really want anyway. Let me
Yeah.
just change my bank account or put a stop payment on it so I don't have to worry about it.
And then it's like, you're getting paid a advance commission. To me, that's like taking out a loan.
It is.
Because if you're selling that way, you're going to end up paying a lot of those loans back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a 9-month advance, that's basically what it is. So yeah, I think that's the first step. Sell properly. Don't talk people into something or make them think that they're just seeing if they can get approved. I mean, we need a little bit of solidity there to the sale so it stays on the books. But then it's important to keep up with your business. If you notice that a payment was missed, and most companies will send out emails about a payment being missed and NSF, insufficient funds. Now, what I do, I don't even call the client. Again, I'm in the door knocking. I show back up at their house, just like I did the first time. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I noticed that your payment was missed or that it fell behind. I just want to make sure you were doing okay. I was in the area, just wanted to drop by and see what we could do to get that payment set back up. And they appreciate that. What's that?
I got a good one for you. I got 2 ways to approach those. The one is I pretend I don't know why I'm there until I remember why I'm there. Oh, Adam, I'm just here for a quick courtesy visit. You got a few minutes? And then we warm up together. I'm like, I'm supposed to be here for something. The insurance company emailed me, said there was a problem. Do you remember anything going wrong with your policy? You had a question about it. You canceled it. I must have missed that email. My God, it appears that you're not dead yet. What was the reason you did that? And by that point, we're already into rapport. It's non-confrontational. And I don't know what's going on here. What do we have to do to fix this? Put the blame on somebody else. They sent me out here. I don't really remember what it was for. Help me out. Or here's the other approach. I get to the door. You answer the door. Oh, thank God. And you're like, what? I thought you were dead. That you didn't make a payment. I thought maybe someone had forgot to file the claim. Thank God you're not deceased. How's your day going today? And they're so thrown off by how funny and weird that was. They don't have room to be confrontational with me just yet, especially if it's a cancellation, a conservation, or something that might take a little bit of work to get back. Here's the point I always make with folks is to go see people no matter what happened, because you'd be surprised how many times they're able to save the business. I feel like I've made a good effort most of my career, once I had an existing book of business, to go back every single time I can within reason. And I found, Adam, one of the common reasons a policy payment never started, didn't go through, the policy was not taken, is I put the bank information in wrong. Like, we talk about you versus you problems. Sometimes the conservation problem is a you problem because you didn't do the application correctly. Have you ever had that happen before?
Yeah, I mean, I've screwed up and messed up the bank information in the past. It happens, and then you got to call the client and make sure that. Well, that's usually how you find out. You probably think that you wrote it down right, but
Mhm.
then you call and you realize, oh shoot, I guess I was off a digit or whatever. But it happens. I think setting draft dates up properly is also a big part of it with keeping business on the books.
Mhm.
Majority of our clients, they're on some form of Social Security, whether that's SSI or disability or whatever, but they're getting paid the same time every month, whether that's the first, the third, or the second, third, or fourth Wednesday. I mean,
Mhm.
my approach is pretty simple. Mrs. Jones, this is on a bank draft. What's a good date? They say the fifth of the month. I usually ask them, well, when do you get paid? You get paid on the first, you get paid on the third. They're usually going to tell me either the first or the third, and they're just wanting to put it out a few extra days. And I tell them, well, we have to set it up for the same day that you
Mhm.
get your deposit. So if it's the third, we'll set it for the third. If the third falls on a weekend, they'll actually draft it the same day you get your deposit. So it could draft on the second if the second is on the Friday. Um, so you just let them know ahead of time. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's just how it has to be set up,
Yeah,
and
we're
that's
not
going to
allowed to
help
set
keep
it up
business
any
on the
other way.
books.
Yeah,
What's
I love
that?
that. I tell them we're not allowed to set up any other way. Like that's literally not an option on the computer here. And a lot of the folks that we sit with are so used to
One
being the
moment. I
doers.
didn't get that. Could you try again?
Come on, Siri.
A lot of the people that we sit with are so used to being the doers and not the decision makers in the world. When they're told this is how something works, that's just what they've done their whole life. If they're told at their old job they weren't allowed to do something, all right, we couldn't do it. So if I say to them, I'm not allowed to do anything but to pick the date that you get paid, which is either the first, the third, the second, third, or fourth Wednesday, they just go with it. And when you feel confident in what you say, you get a lot less objections with it too. Someone who says to me, why do I have to do it that way? That's just the way this works. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules here. It has to be on auto pay now. There's no one to collect it at home. There's no one in an office to take it out of an envelope. This is how all things get paid thanks to COVID, right? There's another good excuse. Blame somebody else and take the pressure off of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they tell you that they want it to come out on the 15th or the 28th or something, that they're thinking, well, let's see, the 15th, I get paid like on the second Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Or the 28th, they're thinking, well, I get paid on the fourth Wednesday. Well,
Yep.
if you set that payment up for the 15th and they get paid on the second Wednesday, that second Wednesday could fall on the 8th of the month.
Yeah.
So if you set it for the 15th, unfortunately, I mean, our clients, they're not the best with managing their money.
Yeah.
We're dealing with fixed income people that are living on their Social Security. So if we don't draft that payment right away, there's a good chance that it may not be there when that draft date comes. So we want to make sure to set it for the same time that they're getting paid. So that's why, yeah, if they tell me the 15th, I ask them, well, do you get paid on the second Wednesday? They're going to tell me yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's where we're going to set it up. Um, People are taking these policies off for a reason. They're not intending on that policy to lapse. If that was the case, they wouldn't be taking it out to begin with. I think a lot of times they don't even realize that their payment was missed. Maybe I know some companies will call the client if a payment's missed. How many times do people not answer their phones if they don't recognize a number?
All the
They might
time.
not listen to their voicemails if they get a voicemail about it. That's why it's our job. It's our job. For one thing, we're getting advance commission. After that, we're getting paid renewals, and we get paid renewals to keep up with our business. Really,
Mhm.
it's not just like, here you go, here's some extra money because you wrote this policy. It's to keep that business in force. That's what renewals are paid for.
On the old Transamerica commission schedule, you got paid renewals. You should be getting paid renewals all the way into like the 10th year. And then they had this little box that said servicing fee, and it was some ridiculously small number, but that's literally what the renewal is it's a servicing fee for you to continue to service this book of this specific client. In those 1 out of 4 people I go back and see to conserve that I save, sometimes I find it's not a bank issue, but they made a blunder. Like they really didn't understand or thought something silly. I had a client say to me once, Adam, I canceled the policy because you sold me accident insurance. And I said, No, this is Occidental Life, not accident insurance. What are you talking about? I
Wow.
mean, come on. It's obviously a misunderstanding. It was easy to save, and we moved on to the next person. Other times, and those 1 out of 4 that I'm able to save, sometimes I find additional premium opportunities. Like another agent had been into the home, replaced the policy. Well, not ethically replaced it, but put them in a bogus policy, raised their premium $50 a month. And now I found additional premium opportunities. Maybe the second time I'm in the home saving your policy, now somebody else in the home wants a policy. Like, I probably make more money going back to service lapses than people ever realize until they do it.
Yeah, that's funny. I was going to bring that up too. What you mentioned about another agent getting in the house and replacing business that they got no business replacing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no one's going to put a policy holder into a better policy than what I'm gonna. so, I mean, I've had agents get into my clients' homes. Oh, that's a whole life policy. You should take money out of that. Like, no, you don't want to touch that money. I mean, what people need to realize in a final expense policy, yeah, maybe it builds some cash value, but if you take a loan on it, well, if you don't pay that loan back, a loan is a loan. I mean, loan means that's you got to pay it back. If you don't pay it back, they start taking reducing the face amount. They hit you with interest.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lady who had a $10,000 policy, and all of a sudden it was worth like $3,000 because she took out a loan years ago that she never paid back. I didn't write the original policy. I remember seeing that. And and I told her, well, that your policy is only worth $3,000 now because you never paid the loan back. So I think sometimes, unfortunately, there's agents out there that are just uneducated when it comes to these sort of things. They don't understand how it works. And rather than tell people correctly, they just kind of assume or guess and could end up really putting the client in a tough spot or the family in a tough spot when they don't even realize what they're doing.
I think a lot of times that's true. I had a situation 2 weeks ago. I was going back to see somebody who had lapsed, and the person that was in the home next placed them in a quit smoking advantage policy. We won't use names here because I don't want to lose any carrier contracts because I respect all carriers equally. Disclaimer. And the agent really didn't understand because they were told all smokers should be placed in this product. And they're a good agent. They do what they're told. They work hard. So they're just doing what they're told. But then I asked the client, I said, Adam, how long have you been smoking? 20 years. You plan on quitting the next 3 years? No. Okay. Well, if you don't quit, this plan does this or it does that. Is that really what you want to have happen? No, of course not. And then because the agent hadn't been properly educated, it's not their fault. They didn't understand that this policy in this state didn't have these riders. And I explained to the client, this doesn't happen very often, but this agent just didn't know. And I learned this 6 years ago. That plan doesn't come with this in this state. So we're able to fix it. And then guess what I did? I called the other agent and I had a polite, professional conversation, and it worked out well. I mean, how many times do agents that are looking to build their agency miss opportunities to talk to other agents when they find those business cards, when they find those replaced captive opportunities? Or that is one of the best ways to recruit, besides calling and building in warm market and building on social media, is calling other agents when you find their cards.
Just wanted to let you know you're going to be getting hit with a chargeback. I just replaced your business.
Maybe not exactly that approach, but man, Adam, I found your card. I see you've been working in the Chicago area for a while. You've been killing it. Did you realize I had these other options were available for out in this state? Never have to mention. Maybe it was.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I've, if they have that person's business card, I usually take it.
Mm-hmm.
I say, well, let me give him a call so I can teach him, so he doesn't do this again.
Yeah, and get all of the competition's stuff out of the home, their cards, their policies. Don't give the client an opportunity to recontact that person, and train your client so that when somebody else comes back, they know not to let them in. I think that's an important way to continue to follow up, build your book, and protect it from other people.
Yeah, and I usually, I mean, even my first visit, when I write the app, I tell them that. And I tell them, look, I know you get these cards in the mail all the time. There's no need to fill another one out. I'm your guy now.
Yeah.
So when you get another one of these in the mail, just disregard it. You don't need to fill out another one. If you ever need anything, just call me.
Yeah.
You have my information now.
One other question I want to throw your way as we talk follow up today, but we don't talk all day since you've got business to go out there and write yourself, is the idea of having some system to it, be it Google Sheets, a CRM, notes in your phone. Are there any ways that you specifically work to follow up or remind yourself to follow up on your book of business?
Well, I mean, I have spreadsheet of all of my policyholders. Yeah, I really don't have like a huge strategy or anything like that. I mean, if I'm in an area and I got a little bit of time to kill, I'll go back and look and see when I wrote the policy. And if it's somebody that I wrote maybe like a year ago, I'll drop in on them. I'm pretty casual with it. Now, when it comes to keeping up with the business, like I mentioned, if I see any kind of lapse or cancellation, anything like that, I'm always gonna drop by their house. I'm always gonna drop by concerned, make sure they know what they're doing, make sure someone else didn't get in there and talk them out of something that they shouldn't have talked them out of. But yeah, I don't really have like a strategy, I guess you could say, when it comes to that. I look at my spreadsheet. If I'm in the area, I'll drop in on them if I have a few minutes.
And that's not a very complicated system, but it's still at least a system to follow up with folks, because I think no matter how small or how big your system is, you need some basic way to do it. And I think people can get overly complicated too by having color coded, massively built out CRMs, but they're more becoming data entry clerks than they are becoming, salespeople. I think sometimes we forget our main mission is not data entry. Our main mission is, as soon as we got enough money, to outsource tasks that aren't sales related tasks. I think one of the things that old insurance businesses did well is they had staff. One of the things FFL does well is they preach to their builders to hire staff. Like, is what you're doing right now an income producing activity? Is what you're doing right now making you money, costing you money, or just really doing none of the above? So following up is good. Having a basic system is good, but don't get so drunk with what you're doing you don't actually ever go out and see people.
Yeah, I mean, you can't overanalyze, and something like that. I know you talked about it, I think last week. I've had people too, like I'll have a meeting and they'll bring a spreadsheet of every single little thing that they've done, and it's just like, I don't know if it's like to try to impress me or what, but to me, you don't need to overcomplicate this thing. Take the leads, put a route together, go out and see the people. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I kind of look at it this way. If I'm spending money on leads, worst case scenario, if I write one app, that's going to at least pay for my leads. Everything else over that is just profits. So even if I have a bad week, I know I'm going to write enough to at least clear my lead costs for the week and still probably make a little bit of money. I don't overcomplicate it. I don't overanalyze. I don't sit there like, okay, let's say I ordered 30 leads and I've written 2 so far. That's not a very good closing ratio. I need to get out there and write 6, 7, 8, 9 more. I mean, I don't know. I've never really been over analytical. I just take the leads, go out and work. And I mean, that's probably why I need to hire more staff. I'm good at the selling part, going out and selling, but it's the organizational stuff that could probably use a little bit of help with.
I have zero idea what my close ratio is, but I still have made plenty of money the last month, the last year, and the last 7 years in the business. I think, though, the biggest problem once we get past you versus you might be your activity level. And I'm speaking to agents, not to Adam. I think sometimes maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, Adam, that they're not putting in enough activity to get the results. And that's probably one of the biggest root problems you see.
For sure. We talked about even hiring like an appointment setter. And I could see that being a positive, but also a negative, depending on the agent. Like if the agent is only going to go out and work those appointments and nothing else, they'll do okay. But to me, it's just it's an avenue of opportunity. Your appointment setters aren't going to get a hold of all your leads.
Right.
People that hang up on them, people that tell them that they're just not interested, you can't just throw the lead in the garbage can. Take that lead and door knock it. I
Mhm.
mean, they might have been mean and nasty to that person setting up the appointment on the phone. They could be the nicest person when you show up. And it's happened to me. You end up getting in the house and writing business. So you got to work kind of both sides of it. And there's really no easy way. There's no shortcuts. But like I said, that's the sort of thing I think you just got to kind of treat it as a tool, uh, a little bit of something, because I'm doing it now. To me, I look at it as to kind of help with some structure, maybe free up a little bit of time.
Mhm.
But there's still going to be plenty of other people that I'm going to still have to work on catching up with outside of just those appointments that are set.
I think too, if your activity level is poor or your production is poor, your income is poor, the most simplest way to do it is track what you're doing in the field hour by hour. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. I tell agents that all the time when they have a struggle for one reason or the other. Like, just do this for me. Write down on a piece of paper 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and write down what you're doing each of these hours. Door knocking, this person, door knocked that person, ran an appointment, sold a policy, sat on TikTok for an hour, ate lunch, ran to the grocery store. Like, honestly and transparency, what in the heck did you do hour by hour during the next 9 to 10 hours? I know when I'm home, when I'm not in the field selling, I have to write down hour by hour what I want to accomplish, because otherwise the only thing that's going to get accomplished is the laundry. The only thing that's going to get accomplished is not things that help grow my business, grow our channel, grow what makes money on a regular basis. So at the most basic level, would you agree or disagree that at least writing down what you're doing hour by hour might enlighten you to your activity?
Yeah, for sure. I think that I do that a lot more when I'm home,
Mhm.
when I'm working on the agency side of it. Because yeah, otherwise I'll just kind of get stuck focusing on one thing the entire day. I
Mhm.
mean, I'll kind of block out time from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock. I'm going to work on my website. From 12 to 1, I'm going to return phone calls. From 1 to 2, I'm going to return emails. Uh, Things like that. Out in the field, I mean, just because I've been doing it so long, I don't really feel the need to do that. Like I said last week, I hate stopping for anything.
You don't
Once
even
I
answer
get
a text
going,
message during the day.
what's that?
You don't even answer a text message during a field day. You were that fucking you're that, and no, I mean that in a very respectful sense. Like, you are that focused, you don't even answer messages, but there's a good 45-minute conversation after the day is over, but nothing interrupts you from what you're doing during a sales day.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I kind of have to have that focus, I think, and always know where you're going to be going next. Like I've said, if that person's not home, I mean, I'll put a route together. But then again, if that person's home, am I going to have time to hit the rest of that route, or should I go back to other people? There's a lot to it, a lot of strategy, I guess you could say. But I'm always thinking about the next move of where
Mhm.
I'm going to go, and uh, yeah, I mean, really, activity is key. Having the leads is key, and I mean, as long as you have enough leads, you're always going to have people to see.
Yeah.
If you don't, well, then you're going to just have to figure out other ways of generating business. But yeah, if you're sitting in your car on your phone playing with TikTok and stuff, that's not productive.
No.
Uh, I mean, you got to be focused. I mean, if you like to play games on your phone, delete them.
Don't,
I
please
mean, it just
turn that
yeah, you
off.
can't have
Yeah.
those kind of distractions. I mean, I could see, God, I mean, just some of the stuff these days, the technology, these games. I mean, they just seem like
Mhm.
they're so addictive, where people could get into something and just be stuck on that thing all day, and then you're not getting anything done. So, any kind of distractions, you just got to kind of push to the side, and like I said, you just got to stay focused on the task at hand.
I think what it does to your mindset and your focus level is far more damaging than what a minor distraction might do to your overall time allotment throughout the day. Like, it might not really ruin your business to go out and pick up an item from the store on the way home or during your field day, but that unplugged status that you now take from your business and put into the grocery store is so damaging, because then you have to get back into routine and back into methodology and back into what's next. I can't multitask like that in the field. Like, I am focused on selling. I mean, even Waylon will know it. He'll send me an email for your next office day. Can you please look at this issue that needs to be resolved? Because he knows I'm not going to do it today. It's not getting done today. Hopefully it'll be done on Friday. But it's just understanding this is what happens today. That's what happens tomorrow. And segregating your time is really an okay thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think even when you're building an agency, whether you're out with an agent training or just if you're out solo, I think agents understand if you're out selling that maybe you can't get back to them right away unless it's something that's really important.
If you're in a home,
If you got to, if you got to step aside to take a call or something, then fine. But I think people understand, because it's happened to me in the past where once you start building and growing and you have so many agents and you try to get out in the field, sometimes it can be distracting. There've been days where I'll be out in the field and I end up in a parking lot all day, just because my phone is ringing. And then, I mean, yeah, I'm helping agents, but not getting anything done on the production side. So I think, again, it's kind of maybe just letting agents know up front kind of the way things are going to work, and let them know, like, yeah, right now I have to be out in the field selling. So they just need to kind of understand that if I can't get to you right away, well, I'll get to you. I'll get back to you. I mean, I have it set right now, my Calendly. Agents can set up calls with me in the morning from like 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, or 8 to 9. So like an hour in the morning, like while I'm on my way to my first stop. And then I also have it where they can set up calls with me in the evening from like 7 to 9. So they can set up those calls. Even if I'm out in the field working and if they need something, they can set up a time to talk to me. All they got to do is get on the Calendly and do that. And then,
I agree.
Monday and Fridays are going to kind of be, that's my goal, is to just kind of be my office day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday out in the field, Monday and Friday to kind of handle the agency side of it. And those are my free days where agents can get a hold of me all day.
Yeah. I always had a trick, or I was taught a trick with my original mentor in the business. Maybe one day we'll do a video with him for fun. Is if you're calling me during the field day, I'm assuming you're in the home. Like if it's between 10 a.m. and 6:30, 7 p.m., whatever your time is locally, if you're calling me right now, I'm assuming you're in the home. If you're calling me after those hours, sure, we can talk until the moment I have to go to sleep. If it's not urgent, you're not in the home, shoot me a text and I can answer that, on my iPad during a sale or on the phone during, like, texting, non-priority. Calling, you're in a home, you need urgent assistance, and everything else that's happening in the background, I can drop and take care of. So whatever your system is with your agents, your agencies, having a system and good communication with them allows everyone to be working together. Because in my opinion, this business isn't nearly as successful for lone wolves as it is aligning yourself with like-minded individuals that help each other get to where they want to be.
Yeah, but how many agents love the fact that you're out in the field?
Oh,
that,
I hope
that,
so.
that you know the business, that they know they can learn a lot from you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just sitting behind the desk all day. You're still out in the field selling. Even though, at this point, even if you were behind the desk all day, you got the track record, you got the experience, and the success. And I think that's important. People want to line themselves up with someone who has that kind of track record and experience that can show them how to do it. Who wants to work for someone who doesn't know the business? That they try to teach you, and it's like right away, you know more than they do about it.
Yeah. I remember, I'll leave you with one last story. I was encouraging a new agent to write one of the new products we offer. And they're in this one screen on the e-application that you got to click this button instead of that button to get it to go through. And she's like, "Whew, there we go. I got it." And I said, kind of cocky, but to make a little bit of a point, "Aren't you glad your upline mentor, business person, whatever you want to call each other, does this with you? Because I know what to do. And don't you think someone behind the desk wouldn't have any idea what to do if you called them right now with this problem?" And they're like, "You're right. you're right. I'm glad we're out here doing this together.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a huge difference. And I mean, I have so many training videos, and but you know what? I mean, let's just talk about like a presentation.
Mhm.
Well, a presentation video, you're basically teaching somebody. It's almost like a laydown. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no objections. There's so many different things that you can experience out in the field that you just can't teach on like a video that someone could watch on YouTube. Uh,
Mhm.
just so many different things, different scenarios, different situations you're going to run into that just ways that you're going to have to know how to overcome certain things that, like I said, there's really no way. I mean, every situation is different, but uh, just the field training, going out and actually experience it. I don't think there's anything that you could throw on a YouTube video that could even compare, unless you're filming while you're in a house. But then still, then the client's gonna be like, well, I guess I got to take out a policy because
Yeah.
I'm on camera.
Yeah, I think there was an old phrase in life when I worked as a paramedic. They said your patient never read the book. Like the book kind of gives you the general video of what you're supposed to do when you show up at someone's home when they're having a heart attack. But until you've been in the trenches and you've done it, then you learn the nuance of what to do. Well, they're having a heart attack, but they're stuck in the bathtub and they're 3 stories up, and you forgot this tool. Like that's where it comes into play. I had an agent reach out to me yesterday, and I know he can do this, but I got to find this text and not say the name because it just proves the point. Like I asked them, how often have you actually gone out into the field and really tested the methodology we went over in our one-on-one session last Tuesday? I mean, like you can do it, but you just got to go do it. And then you got to go do it 4 to 5 days a week for the next 6 weeks. And all of these issues you're having, getting into the home, transitioning, going to get their policy, getting the bank information, all of that stuff will work itself out when you continue to work it out. I mean, am I crazy here or is there some truth to that?
No, again, it's about consistency. This guy, Jason Kelsey, he has the most consecutive starts, I think, of any player right now in the NFL. And this is a guy that, I mean, he's every single play, banging up against somebody. He's a center, protecting the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just a matter of being consistent and conditioning and, being ready to get out there and perform. And in our business, yeah, I mean, you got to be prepared, you got to be ready, but you got to get out there and do it. And that's where you got to be consistent and just get out there and do it one day after another. Every single day you're going to get better at it.
It's
And
true.
I've always said, I mean, yeah, my dad is in the business, and other people when I first started took me out and did some field training when I first got into final expense. But I learned the most just from going out and doing it, and just trial and error, figuring out what worked and figuring out what didn't. I don't know. I don't feel like it takes like a brain surgeon to figure this thing out. It's just a repetition and just going out there and doing it.
I'm writing this down because I don't want to forget it. I feel like, agree or disagree, failure is a choice in this industry. Maybe sometimes people don't fail, they just disappear into the night, never to be seen from again. Failure is a choice, just the same way succeeding or going forward is a choice. Like if there was a linear path, which there isn't, from where you start to where you reach a level of success, each time you choose to go to work and knock a door, you're taking one more step in that direction. And by refusing to quit, you're also agreeing or consenting to take one more step forward. Like there are such important choices that we make in this business. I think we need to remember that failure is a choice just as much as choosing to not give up and push forward and disposition one more lead is a choice as well.
Well, yeah, like I said, I mean, I think that, well, being broke is a full-time job. I mean,
Gosh,
it's always on your mind. You're always thinking about money, and that can be very stressful. And I'm sure everybody's. I mean, heck, I've been in that situation in the past.
Mhm.
It's not a good situation to be in. what we do is very stressful, but as I said, a couple weeks ago, what we do is stressful, but at the end of the day, I can go to bed comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, I worked my butt off. I made good money. My family is, taken care of. Like I said, the fear of failure, being broke, it's a full-time job.
Yeah, my
And
girl.
you just kind of have to transition away from that and focus on winning, focus on the wins, and just kind of go from there. And yeah, you know what? It's a stressful, all careers can be stressful, but I would rather deal with the kind of stress that we deal with on a daily basis than have to worry about bill collectors calling me.
Yeah, it's just the more you make, the more stressful the business is going to be. And I think sometimes we forget the opportunity to make 250, 300, 400, 500, no cap on your income. It's going to come with some degree of stress that a basic 9 to 5 is just not going to include based on that reality. You're talking about being not stressed out about bills. My girlfriend says to me 2 days ago, would you believe the electric bill for December was $650 a month? I'm like, okay.
Wow.
I'm not worried about that. I'm like, well, we had everyone and their uncle over for the holidays. The house had multiple adults staying over for multiple weeks. It was negative degrees. The heat was up. The pellet stove was on. Yeah, I think that's a plausible thing for it to be. But was I worried about how much it was or if the bill would clear if we could afford it? No. That just comes with putting the work in and working your way out of the struggle.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, like I said, it just, at the end of the day, you gotta know going in, then you gotta just have that mindset that you're gonna succeed and you're gonna do well. Don't focus on your failures. Don't focus on your losses. I mean, the more you focus, we've talked about this. The more you focus on something, the more you're gonna get of it. So if all you're thinking about is losing, well, you're just gonna keep losing. You keep thinking about your production being down, it's just going to get worse.
I agree.
That I talked about, I did a YouTube short yesterday talking about that Jaguars game. They were down 27-0 at halftime. I mean, you think they sat around in the locker room talking about how they were down and, oh God, we're down 27-0. It's been a great year.
Nope.
Like, no, they focused on what are we going to do to get back in this game? And what are we going to do? What can we change? What can we do? And their coach believed in them, knew that they could get out there and make it happen. And by a coach believing in you, well, that's going to give you the confidence too, to get out there and make it happen.
So I want to wrap on that thought. We believe in you. And if we even haven't met you yet, we do believe in you. And if you need someone to believe in you, reach out to one of us because we're happy to lend some tips, tricks, and support, maybe even something more in-depth if necessary in the business. Like the video, comment on the video, not just on Facebook, on YouTube, so this video gets shown to other people who need it. Subscribe to the channel. We've grown immensely in just a few months of putting content out there. We're getting better at it. He's getting pretty freaking wherever you are, you're getting fancy at it in a way I couldn't figure out myself. And Adam, I appreciate you taking time before your sales day and your trip this weekend to do another video with me. And we appreciate the video, you guys watching the video today.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Chris. We'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.